Hi, morning everybody. Decided to do a bit of an impromptu video. If any of you know, I work for Always Knitting and Sewing in Chorley, and on a Facebook Live yesterday I mentioned about what had happened to my embroidery machine, how I'd broken a needle, to pass on that detail, and I thought I'd just do a little video on how to do it. Excuse my background, I'm just sat in front of a machine. This is my printer and stuff, and you can hear the cats playing on the floor. So what I was doing, I was embroidering one of the latest designs from Sweet Pea Designs. I'm doing it's like a Christmas quilt, and I was doing one of these little blocks, and as I got to embroidering this flower, it starts off slow when it starts in a section, and all of a sudden speeds up, and as it suddenly sped up there was an almighty bang, and the needle snapped. And I use Schmetz embroidery needles, and they are pretty strong, so it takes quite a bit to break them, and it went bang, and it was like, oh my god, what's done? The thread actually didn't break, which surprised me, but there was an awful lot of tension on the thread. Anyway, so I cut it. Obviously my needle had snapped completely. I don't know if you can see it there. There's the broken needle, but in the process it really put a ding in the hole in my plate. There was two really what looked like quite deep holes. I don't know if you can see it now. I have used a bit of filing, a bit of an emery board on it. Don't know if you can get it so close from this direction. Anyway, I'll put a photo in here. I took a picture of it, what it looked like on my camera, because I could zoom right in and you could see it. You can see quite clearly how it's scratched across my plate as well. Now my machine's only about 3 months old, so I wasn't best impressed about this, but it was from a little bit of a mistake I'd unbeknowingly made, so I'll tell you about that as well. But I rang my brother dealer, because mine's a brother, this is my machine here, a brother embroidery machine. So I rang the dealer where I bought it from, which is Lord's Sewing in Oswald Mills, and they told me that I could just file it with an emery board, a nail file. So if you've never tried it, or you didn't realise that, or I'll tell you how it broke, and then if you have ever wondered why you've broke a needle, a really good needle, and you can't understand why, then maybe this happened to you. So I haven't got any nail file small enough, so I had one of these, so I've chopped a chunk out of it and disassembled it to get myself a really thin piece of sandpaper to go into that hole there, so where the burrs are. And they just said just file that, so I've just gone backwards and forwards a couple of times with an emery board against that edge. Obviously I'm trying to do it in mid-air now. I don't think it takes much, and you won't be able to see that, but I will take a close-up shot and put it in, and how easily that has just filed that out. So you might be at home sitting thinking, oh, I've got to buy myself a new plate, which is what I thought, and it was probably going to cost me £30 or £40. But they told me, no, you don't need to do that. You can just file that out. So if you find in your machine your threads keep shredding, you've changed your needles and all them kind of things, you could have a bit of a burr in the needle plate, in the hole there where your needle goes in and out, and it could be catching on that. So it's worth checking. So I've just done that. I've only had to go backwards and forwards a few times, and I think that might be enough. The only way I'm going to find out is if I try it. Now, what had happened was I was using a Brother thread. Now, I've not used these before. I normally use Smith threads. And what I hadn't realised was they have a little slit there. It just never crossed my mind about it, in the top. There it is. I don't know if you can see that, to hold the thread when it's not in use. Now I'd put my thread upright, because I've bought a new thread stand that goes along the back of the machine, actually clips onto this machine, so all your cones and things are stood upright, and you can have 10 on your machine at a time. So as I was using all the mini congs, the mini cones, and I had all the little smaller spool caps on top, this was the only Brother one I wanted to use, so I put this on the machine and just stuck that on. Just never thought about where this was. Put that on, put the spool cap on, started, and what had happened is it had unwound. It had gone into that slot there, and you can see the tension on that. That obviously pulled really hard, and with it being all wound through the machine as well, it completely bent the needle, scratched it across the machine and put those dings in it. So do be aware, if you've got these, maybe make sure you always put them in upside down, and make sure if I'd been using the right size spool cap, that would never have happened. But I was using, because I'd been using all the mini cones, I just put the smaller one on it, which obviously didn't cover those edges. If I'd have put that one on, that would have prevented that from happening as well. But from now on, I'll make sure that they're on, always on, upside down. So if that's happened to you, then maybe bear that in mind. So I'm going to put that now back in my machine, and then see how I get on. Okay, so I've slowed my machine right down while I'm testing it, since I've altered it, filed the burr hole, and everything seems to be going okay. I've put it on the slowest speed at the moment because I was kind of afraid to press the button. And everything seems to be going okay. Thread's not shredding. This is my thread stand I was telling you about. So that's how it's working. I've got the proper size spool cap on now, and it's the right way up. So it's pretty good. Feeding through here, not catching on anything. There we go. I'll just bring that in and show you. So there we go. Just on this poinsettia. That seems to have worked well. I'm really pleased. So that was a definite win. So if you're having the same trouble, give it a go.